We are here to talk about retail media and reimagining consumer connections. So as of April 2024, there are over 200 retail media networks currently in operation. Of course, there's cookie deprecation, there's signal loss. There's also the understanding that retail data is incredibly accurate at helping to identify what makes someone tick and what might make them want to buy. But can the market sustain all of these offerings? And is having purchase data enough to make a retail media network successful?
Having the purchase data is not enough. Being able to access the purchase data and to organize it in a way where you can use it on a daily, hourly, half-hourly basis to really understand how these campaigns are working that's where the work sits. But I will say, back to your question about 200, and can the market sustain it? I think that what you'll see, and we're seeing this right now, there's a huge explosion. Everyone's getting a retail media network. But I would say that what really should happen is that each retailer should understand what is special about their relationship with their customers. How do they serve their customers best through the advertising that they serve them? And, you have some examples. Like, we see our customers 2.5 times a week on average. So we see them a lot. And so we have a very different conversation with them. But think of some other businesses that might see them when suddenly they're having a baby or they're getting married and there's a wedding registry. There's just very different things happening at different points in times. And in many ways, same consumer groups, but there's something different happening in their life. And so that retailer at that moment could actually be the most valuable one to engage with from a retail media perspective. I also think we'll start to see a lot of the 200 consolidate. And there are some great platform companies out there that actually are very appropriate for aggregating those retailers and just making it super easy for the retailers, because it's a big investment to build a retail media network.
It's not cheap. But it does seem like we're in the era of you get a retail media network, and you get a retail media network, and you get a retail media network.
I might have said that before.
And it's not just retail.
Now there's travel, there's financial, there's all of these different sort of RM.
It's FMN and TMN. Yes.
Cosmetics MN, CMN. I would love a Sephora. I would love a Sephora media network, actually. That would be a thing.
There is one.
Is it? Yeah.
If I say so.
Yeah, please.
I think that the world is getting ready, though, for whatever the MNs are. Because we hear from our agency partners that they are really looking to adjudicate the denominator. How do we understand everyone, who is, whether it's, in this country, in this world. And I think that as the agencies and companies start to understand that this is the new reality, they're just trying to understand how to aggregate on their own. And I think that as a ecosystem partner, the other thing that has been super important is not just an opportunity to monetize the data, it's to bring value to the actual advertisers. Mm-hmm. And then, we see ourselves trying to bring demand to those customers as well.
I'll add. Obviously, purchase data is a good start, right? It really does enable you to understand somebody and serve them, more personalized experiences. Now, with that, I look at Mastercard. We have a slew of purchase data. It's not just at one retailer. It's across your entire life. So trying to understand that and use that holistically, that's a potential solution for a longer tail at some point. And there's a real opportunity to look at making it more experiential in how we're serving up the consumer in their lives and in the retail spaces as well. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, it's a good start. It gives advertisers more attribution. And we're working with the likes of even a Paramount, right, to help them provide attribution to advertisers. So to your point, finding new ways to get you closer to show the ROI, this is what this is all about.
So drilling down a little bit into the differentiation piece, Kristi, you've been in the retail media business since before it was a buzzword. You've also spent time in-house in agency land on the buy side. So looking at it through both of those lenses, what do you think RMNs need to do to differentiate themselves to kind of to continue to provide that value?
Yeah, I actually have a third lens because I also sat on the brand side. So I've really seen the industry from all angles, and I think that that's why I get excited about retail media, because you can see where some of the opportunities in the marketplace sit. And I think we're coming out of an era where walled gardens had command and control over a lot of things. And retail media in particular, by the very nature of who we are, where we come from, and the types of relationships that retailers have with their suppliers and their customers, we're in a very different position in terms of how we approach the marketplace. So it's kind of a win-win-win. Customers win, our partners win, and we win when we drive growth by giving our customers really valuable experiences. So I think that our moment in time is right now. Why it's so hot right now is because of cookie deprecation. And I was reading one article in Ad Exchanger, and the comment that really resonated with me is that retail media data, customer data, these audiences we build are not a consolation prize as cookies come out of the marketplace. They're actually quite a significant upgrade, because I like to call it real people doing real things, and we actually can follow them. We see these audiences making purchases. So the level of accountability that we can bring to marketing is unprecedented in terms of where we've been.
That's a great segue, though, because we are all collectively excited about the retail media opportunity. But one of the reasons that our industry is being forced to change the way we operate is because companies lost consumer trust when it comes to data, and now there's a backlash. Cheryl, how does a brand like Mastercard manage and maintain consumer trust while providing advertisers and other partners which kind of with the rich data and the insights that you can provide?
I mean, all of us, our brands are built on trust. So the last thing any of us want to do is break that trust that we have with consumers. That's the end of the whole thing if we do that, right? So you have to have real principled approach and governance around your data. And we do that, and part of that governance is, number one is securing that data, right? You can't have a breach of that data, making sure privacy is there. The transparency is more important than ever, as AI, comes into play now. How are you leveraging this data and being transparent about the outcome you're trying to provide and the value you're trying to provide with that data is really important. Inclusion, and so we'll talk a lot about this, but, and ensuring that we're minimizing any bias in data, and then finally, I would say doing good for society. And so if I give an example of an output of that, just last year we won a titanium here for something called Where to Settle. And it took our data as well as external data and recognized the challenge with people migrating from Ukraine into Poland, and everybody was migrating just into Warsaw, which was creating an overload. The data was then used to recommend different places to settle where there were jobs and opportunities and housing available. And that's how you can earn trust, by doing good with that data.
It's also a way of providing value, right? That value exchange. Laurel, that the sort of idea of this value exchange is inherent in Infillion. Personalization and relevance often come up as ways that using this data can provide value to users in exchange for their data. But are there other more tangible or innovative ways that you can provide you can provide value to users in exchange for their data?
Yeah, I think we've been lucky at Infillion because Truex is a very central part of our business, and for a long time we sort of invented that value exchange piece where you're giving a reward back, et cetera. There is nothing more powerful than some of the rewards that we see with Albertsons, what Mastercard's doing, et cetera. Also, you were both talking about location that is a privilege, right? We've owned Gimbal for a long time, opt-in, location-based data. What is more intimate than understanding somebody's location and being trusted with that? So the value exchange comes in many forms. Part of it is trust. Part of it is in pure value exchange and rewards and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think that rewarding people and really giving them value for their time, attention, and privacy, our 3 tenets, are at the center of everything we do.
So we are in Cannes. We should probably talk a little bit about innovation and creativity. And we're talking about retail media, yes, but are there any campaigns or examples of data-driven creativity that you've worked on lately that have wowed you? It could be your own company, it could be anyone else's, or any partnerships or integrations that are like, this is the sum of what we are trying to do, and it's going to surprise and delight consumers at the same time?
I mean, I wanted to share, an innovation. I won't call it a campaign, but it's a capability. And it's an example of where we started. So not just about the purchase data itself, but it's called Shopping Muse by Mastercard. It's a Gen AI product recommender. And our partners, merchants, retailers, actually embedded in their digital experience. And it provides recommendations based upon personalized experiences, what your behaviors and what you've purchased, what your preferences are. And it has a very, colloquial language, so if we wanted to know what's Cannes casual or California cool or,
Oh, I want to know that.
beach form.
I want to know
You
that.
want to know that so we could we pack better next time. You could ask these questions and get that, along with, you're picking something and it will recommend all kinds of things based upon your purchases in the past. So this is an example of using purchase data in a way that's an engaging online experience, not, taking online up a notch in how we're treating consumers.
Kristi or Laurel?
We talked about this question in particular, and I actually worked really hard at trying to find an answer to it. So I think my answer to it is there's a lot of open space to really think about how content and retail media and this type of marketing can come together in a more effective way. And what you'll see right now, so everyone talks about CTV being, the biggest explosive growth, but what does the creative look like? It's overlays, it's, dynamic display banners. We've got a long way to go. So how do we create specs that can inspire creative teams, creative agencies to really think about how you create commerce related content that's put out into the world. So there's just a ton of opportunity in that space. I go to, there's this cool tech here, and there's this little thing we can do there, but I would love to see content en masse that is built for commerce media specifically.
I love that you are always advocating for standards in the category. Thank you very much. I have a favorite. I think that we're so focused on the user experience, whether it's our clients or the end user experience. And I think what we're going to see as we move through this is much more contextual execution of creative based on the device, based on the channel, et cetera. And so wouldn't it be really nice if you could go to your desktop and when I'm searching for something or I'm shopping for something and I get the full experience, but on mobile I might only be starting my experience. And so that retargeting, that contextual targeting, I think is going to be super important. And the campaign that comes to mind, which was really your question, is what we did for Porsche, where you could actually go in your desktop and have not only the dealer experience, like the in-store experience, but the online experience of changing colors, changing models, et cetera, and very, very powerful, really ridiculous, return on investment.
Get me into the store and test drive that Porsche. That takes it to a whole other level. I think we have 30 seconds left. So any final thoughts, anything you want to sort of leave with the audience in terms of the opportunity or just because we can, should we, or anything else?
I mean, I think the one thing that really stands out to me is 3 cans in a row, and not cans, but can.
I was like,
This idea that retail media, commerce media went from, kind of all the way down at the end of the beach to now. Last year it was, oh my God, suddenly everybody's talking about it. Now it's central to Cannes. So it's clear that commerce media is here to stay. The industry sees it as an opportunity. Now how we all go execute against it is what we'll talk about next year.
and do it in a way that delights consumers and doesn't make them feel creeped out and weird, right?
I think it's, yeah, I think it's the same for any advertising at this point. We're trying to not disrupt an experience, create something that's more experiential and authentic and fits with a great retail experience. And therefore, you know, how do we get back to that experiential content that you were talking about? So hopefully next year at this time, we're talking about that.
I'll just add, thank you to Beat for always bringing great topics to the table, and I love being with these women. So I'll just say, well said, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.